Welcome back. It is Wednesday, and I am out of the studio today. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, a lot of different things. The left is still screaming and screeching and telling the lies that they're telling. And before we actually talk about the DOGE Oversight Subcommittee hearing, I want to touch on a few things that I think are important. Now, I've talked about being censored on different platforms. It seems like people always seem to find me, though, which I think drives them crazy. We are back up on YouTube. But we're going to talk about what just happened over at Rumble. One of their legal counsels, their chief legal counsel, just left to go work for the CIA. How is this even a thing? Well, we're going to talk about that today. Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening. And let's have conversations about what truth is. What if I told you that we were going to deal with a little bit more kabuki theater? We thought it was over and going into November. Matter of fact, I said, you know what? I'm going to step away from politics. I'm going to rename my podcast. I'm going to do a bunch of crazy stuff to talk to the left and the right, and not the radical left. We'll call them lefticals. I'm learning new vernacular. And then if we want to talk about the transgenders, I was talking to a guy named Gerard. I think his name's Jared, but I don't know. Anyway, he's an amazing guy out of Atlanta, Georgia, who has a movement that he's doing. And he says, we're going to have to call them, I'm going to refer to them as he bitches. And I couldn't stop laughing when he said it. And I go, well, why would you say that? He goes, well, because they weren't man enough to be the man that they were born to be. So they had to go become that. So anyway, he talks about taking back vernacular, taking back language. And I think in large part, that's what we have to do. The left right now is not talking about anything of substance. Matter of fact, you have to admit that there's massive amounts of government waste. And when you put it in the terms of government waste, it's one thing. When you put it in terms of taking a large piece of your pay, of your hard-earned money, and handing it over to people that don't deserve it, they get to live free lives and get on private jets and sail around the world on your dime while you struggle and work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. When you have to pay into private pensions and they get public pensions that you get to pay for. When they send money to people to do deviant things to other people around the country. And who gets to foot the bill? You do. It's actually not about government waste. It's about stealing and enslaving the American people. So yesterday, somebody sent me something, and I'm going to start here. I said this before. This is a X tweet I put up, and I say I no longer wonder why I'm being censored on Rumble. I was once told I was one of a handful of dangerous voices in the U.S. You've heard me say that before. All of these platforms are infiltrated and stood up by those who want to see only what they want you to see. And over the last couple of days, I keep saying it. It's still kabuki theater. So this happened. Let's go and put up A1 if we can. Rumble gives legal chief $1 million payout amid move to the CIA. $1 million. Now, I've talked a lot about whether or not Rumble was our friend or not our friend. And I even went so far as to actually reach out to Chris over at Rumble. I was a shareholder. And I'm not just saying a small shareholder. I put a considerable amount of money into their shares. But why is it? Let's look at the parallels here. Is there a parallel between the CIA and a video platform? Like you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go be legal counsel for Rumble. And from there, I'm going to make a transition over to the deputy chief of the CIA. Well, I want to just, I mean, maybe that's a thing. Look, we have hairdressers and people that do makeup that are going to Brussels and doing things that cause Tina Peters to go to prison. You know, that are surrounded by people who are government informers. I'm talking about Sharona Bishop. She's in Brussels with another guy that was a call. What? Apollo, help me here. He ran a call center, and now that guy and Sharona Bishop are flying to Brussels to represent us as people.
Which guy are we talking about?
Mike Lauber.
Oh, oh yeah. These are two clowns that Joe has had the displeasure of dealing with. I mean, I would fire him again. I don't know.
Look, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to past the point of ridiculous, and now we have somebody that was a chief counsel for Rumble that now works for the CIA. And look, again, I'm invested in Rumble. But why is it that the signal degrades on Rumble the same way it does on Facebook? Only a certain number of people are actually allowed to watch Rumble. You get shadow banned on Rumble the same way you get shadow banned on other platforms. And then the head chief legal counsel decides to leave Rumble and go work for the CIA. I mean, and then we have hairdressers and makeup artists along with call center clerks that are now going out and representing that they understand what is happening in the United States. All while Tina Peters is rotting in jail when one of those same people decided to walk a CIA informant into her office and do an image that anyone with just a half a bit of information on IT and a single program could have done. Help me with this, Apollo. Tell me what I'm saying here is wrong. Tell me what I'm saying here it makes sense, right? And why am I the most dangerous voice for telling people that you shouldn't have to pay property tax on a house because you don't own it? You're renting it for. Why is it that I talk about election fraud, have to go to Washington and say and meet with the State Department and say, here's how they're going to steal the election, and they stole the election. Everyone watched it happen, and then all of a sudden I become the most dangerous voice. And as they're going out the door, now they go from Rumble to working for the CIA. Please help me.
Well, the CIA angle, I have to say, I mean, and maybe that's just my own ignorance for not, following who that dude was. That one was I double took when you put that in there. It could potentially explain a lot, but I think one of the best ways you put it, going all the way back to 2020, was these are just not serious people, and this is just what we keep saying is a bunch of people who are not serious people, and it's like that George Carlin quote. I mean, it's a big club, and you ain't in it. And I'll tell you what, guys, Joel Altman ain't in the club. You either get
I'm not in the club.
They don't hear anything like he like doesn't exist. Because they don't put anything to give him attention other than he's some crazy conspiracist, radical election denier. Because that's what the mainstream did, and you're not invited to the cool kids club. That's it. Because you don't care.
And I don't care. I don't care. I could care less. And I think it bothers them that I care less and that I continue to talk and that people continue to find me. I keep getting text messages like, Joe, I didn't know you were back on X. Well, yeah, it's because I'm banned. You can find the fake me on X. It is just, it's one thing after another. And I'm busy over here doing technology stuff and building stuff and having meetings to help, help people thrive and just really just having fun finally. But one of the things that you have to look at is the obvious. You have an actor running around. By the way, Jovan did an entire special on the Tina Peters event. He did an entire special. Nobody watched it, but he did an entire special. And somebody sent it to me and said, hey, do you want to look at this? And talked about Fed infiltrators. So the Fed is calling everybody else a Fed and building up with these radical, I don't even know. So I just decided I've had enough. The guy must not be being sued enough. So I just called a lawyer and said, hey, you might want to check into this Jovan guy, this glass mouth pirate hunter. Who's a pirate hunter? Treasure hunter. Sorry, treasure hunter.
Treasure hunter.
And people are like, Joe, don't go after these people. Okay, I've had enough. This is not real life. So you have a makeup artist that gets in bed with a Conan Hayes, a makeup artist whose husband works for the feds, who then says she got raided by the feds. And then she moves from Colorado after that and moves to Texas. And Tina Peters gets arrested and goes to prison for 9.5 years. I can't wrap my head around it. Wrap my head around it. So in this little thing that Jovan did, he said that, did this symposium deal help? Did it promote themselves? Did it help Tina? Did it hurt Tina? And so he did this mathematical thing. And one of the things that happens on X is that you can build these bots. He has lots of bots. And he creates these stories. Like he goes out and collects information from people. He repackages it, put little pretty stickers on it, learns to talk about it, doesn't understand the vernacular of what he says, and then acts like he's the expert on something like an election, but has no. And then, Apollo, I'm tired. I'm tired of the bullshit. Just put the bullshit aside. I'm just tired of the bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. It's all bullshit.
No, I mean, we've talked about this before. One of the biggest bullshit pieces that I see, like you've been dealing with all this lawfare and this like massive burden with the legal stuff while trying to run your companies and sticking up for Tina and so many other people. I find it hilarious because, like, short of the whole documentary thing where he's getting sued because he lied about producing a documentary and stole 30 grand, I don't see Jovan doing, all that hard with people attacking him, especially considering he was the guy who got up and he was like, I hacked the election machines just now. I'm in them. And he did this like on TV. Like, are you serious?
And I'll tell you what, I'll put this out there right now, Jovan. I'll put it out there. I know that what's his, man, help me. O'Keefe put a thing out to Kyle Seraphin saying that we'll just have a charity boxing event. I'll tell you what, I'll put on gloves, boxing gloves. I'll let you do bare hand. I'll let him do bare hand, right? I'll put on boxing gloves and we'll give money to charity, Jovan. We'll give money to charity. I'll let you take your teeth out and maybe whatever else is in there. You got the glass that you have going on in there. Just take that out. I'll let you wear like a big old mouth guard and we'll get in the ring and we'll just man to man. Let's see what you got. Let's just get in there. I got a lot of pent up aggression. You got a lot of pent up aggression. We'll give all the money to a charity. Let's go at it. Let's just have a little fun, right? But you can't wear a shirt. You got to get in there and you got to be bare chested because you put up this picture of me that I don't even know where your AI fetish, because you're a fetish person. I get it. But you put up this picture of me, so I won't wear a shirt. You don't wear a shirt. We'll get in there. Just get your skibbies on. I'll even give you 30 days so you can get on a treadmill. What do you think, Apollo?
Nobody wants to see Jovan in a shirt. I mean, conceptually, it works fine. It's kind of a cruel thing to do to the audience, though.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody's like, okay, I'm not going. I'm not going bare chest. He would be too distracted. He's too distracted, huh? All right. So we've got a lot to discuss today, Apollo, and we'll start out this way. Let's talk about the DOGE subcommittee members serving under the leadership of Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is pretty crazy. So this is the Republican DOGE subcommittee members serving under the leadership of Chairman Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. 3 Texans. So you have Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's the chairwoman. You have Michael Cloud, Pat Fallon, and William Timmons, Tim Burchett, Eric Burleson. Okay. I got an echo. Oh.
Got it. You're good.
Can you mute?
I got him. He's muted. Sorry about that.
All right. Where was I? Live show, guys. Live show. That's a pretty good group. So then they have this subcommittee on DOGE. Everyone has admitted that there's massive theft from the American people. And keep in mind, one of the things that I said is that I may toss my hat in the ring to run for governor for Colorado. And I'm going to put it out there right now that there should be strong people in all 50 states running. And the platform is get rid of property tax completely. And they're like, well, where are you going to get the money? You're not. You're going to stop wasting money. You're going to cut out 70% of the administration costs in education. And there are people out there saying that you don't understand, it's too complicated. No, I actually run businesses. I have to worry about people's paychecks. I have to worry about making sure that we have the proper products so that we actually make money and not on the backs of the people that work for us. We have to do that. So I understand fully when you make cuts and what fat looks like, unlike our government institutions that come back to the American people and say, I'm just going to take more from you. So there was a lot of phenomenal things that were said in the opening statements, but I want to highlight just a few. Burleson said the quiet part out loud and called the Democratic Party out for attacking the messenger. Look, guys, listen, every state, DOGE. Let's DOGE it all the way down to the end. Let's get a Department of Government Efficiency at every state, every local level. And by the way, we should be pressing down on these people with tiki torches and pitchforks. Why? Because there's a certain person of our population that is suffering an opportunity desert. But the reason why you have a 50, 60, 70% divorce rate is that you have to literally go and work your ass off while people in government do nothing and get paid bonuses. You have to work your ass off while judges sit on a bench and do harm to the community. You have to work your ass off while the IRS comes in and takes everything off the bone. $600. You spend more than $600 on Venmo, they're going to report you to the IRS because you have to pay taxes on money that you already paid taxes on. This is a reality. Let's go ahead and play this, though. This is Rep. Eric Burleson.
We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save your pensions. We're trying to save your bank accounts. We're trying to save this country for the next generation. And it would be nice if we had help. But instead, we have people that are fighting us on this. And, you know, I think that I would hate to be in the Democratic Party right now because you're in a really bad bind. You're having to defend all of this crazy spending, all of this crazy waste. So how do you do it? You do ad hominem attacks. You attack the messenger. Oh, Elon Musk, right? He's rich. He must be evil, right? That's the attacks. Really, you can't do any better than that, right? Let's talk on the policy. On the policy, help us. We're trying to save this country.
We're trying to save this country. Here's another one. Rep. William Timmons told it straight. We're going to save this country with or without you. Let's go ahead and play this.
There's a competition in Congress. I think we should have a competition on this committee. I got $300 billion in savings proposed. We got to all pull our weight because we have such a massive problem right now. But I would just ask my colleagues across the aisle to get out of the way if you don't want to help. If you don't want to help right the fiscal ship in this country, get out of the way. Stop filing lawsuit after lawsuit. We do not have the financial ability to continue down this path. And we're going to save this country with or without you. You can kick and scream all the way, or you can get out of the way. I prefer the former. Thank you, Madam.
And that's not all. Michael Cloud had this to say.
And to those who would stand opposed to this effort, I would just point out, while it's understandable to find waste, fraud, and abuse that has grown and metastasized in this government even over decades, certainly accelerated over the last few years, to continue to protect it is corruption. I want to thank the chair for beginning this war on waste on this side of Pennsylvania Avenue and bringing together this committee. This effort is so important as we work to relieve the American people of this burden of waste, fraud, and abuse.
And he's right. He's not just right, he's overtly right about what should be considered. I would take it a step further. It's not corruption. It's not corruption that we're dealing with. It's treason. It's treason. You go, Joe, it can't be, it's not treason. It's treason. It is treason. And this is why we need DOGE. But more than we need DOGE, we need a reset. We need a restoration in our country. We talk about restoring God, ethics, morals, just basic, just the basics of morality to our communities. The basics. How did you do during the pandemic? What if I told you there was over $1 trillion was stolen from the American people? That's a reality. Over $1 trillion, and a majority of that went overseas. Here is what, just take a look at this.
We have an internal threat, but you also mentioned transnational fraud rings, terrorist organizations, nation states, North Korea, nuclear weapons programs funded by our tax dollars, China, Nigeria, Iran, Romania, Russia, not our friends necessarily, that are being funded by taxpayer dollars. Could you give us some examples of how this is happening?
God, yeah. So when you think about what happened during the pandemic, $1 trillion was stolen. 70% of that money went overseas. And I can give you some examples. In a Western state, they had more people applying for unemployment insurance benefits than they had individuals over 18. The people that were stealing the money from Romania were using it to facilitate other fraud schemes that include fentanyl, that include doing things to impact our democracy. On the insider threat, right, the first thing you have to say, and my dad was a public servant, is 99% of people that work in the public sector are honest, hardworking individuals. But there are some, and what you need is data and technology to root that out. There were examples during the pandemic. There were some examples even of last week where people got into the Medicaid system in a Western state and stole $50 million in less than 4 months. So you have to have these controls in place, right? These aren't individuals stealing, Mr. Cloud. These are organized criminal groups, both domestic and transnational.
So you have people that are coming in that are stealing money from the American people by the tens of millions of dollars. How many of you would like to have access to that for your business? How many of you could have put $1 trillion in our economy to work if businesses weren't being raped by banks? And look, I got to tell you something. I appreciate the bank that I do business with. It's a local bank. They're amazing people. I could call them on a Tuesday, have something done by a Friday. I absolutely appreciate them for exactly what they are willing to do to help us. But they get to operate in a different world than we get to operate. There is no consequence to their bad behavior. And Tim Burchett, he's a legend. Here's what he had to say today at the DOGE subcommittee hearing. Let's hear him.
The gravy train, for a lot of these folks, it's been on biscuit wheels, and it's about to run off the dadgum tracks, and it's about time. Could you imagine standing up here and defending waste, fraud, and abuse? But I think that's what we're seeing. When people squeal and don't ask questions, I think it shows the American public what the heck's going on. And that little gravy train is getting ready to run out. The spigot is getting ready to be turned off.
The gravy train is getting ready to be turned off. I would take it a step further. I would say that, and let me just put this out there, since the Republicans are walking around as if they're the saviors. They're not the saviors. If you don't think the Republicans and the Democrats on both sides of the aisle were out there just divvying up and putting more money into these organizations and never asking questions, and when they did ask questions, it was the bandstand and to stand on the side. You want to know why people think I'm a dangerous voice? I'm about to tell you. It's really simple. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. It's not falling. It's already happened. You've already capitulated and given up your sovereignty as a person. You've already given that up. You don't own anything. You don't own your house. You don't own your car. You own nothing. You have the clothes on your back, and you got to go replenish that too. Sorry, I'm going to just tell you how it is. And if they decide in this net that they have of laws that they have stacked on top of each other, that you become a target, they get to come for you. And even though there are laws out there to protect you, They get to decide what laws to ignore and what laws they actually get to follow. And if you appeal it all the way up and somebody finally decides they're going to give you your ounce of justice, by that time you have spent nearly half of your inheritance, savings. You've ruined your life in order to prove a point. That's the reality of the system that we have. And these same politicians, they're getting on the side of Elon because they want to stand over here and be like, look at what's happening over there. Now, I'm not saying that Tim's that way. I'm not saying that any of the people on this committee are that way. But you cannot ignore the fact that they were the ones signing off on budgets. They were the ones sending money to these organizations. And all of a sudden, somebody comes in with big balls and says, oh, maybe we should look at this stuff. Maybe we should look at it. Maybe we should lift up the curtain and see how much of the American people, their hard-earned money, is being stolen from them, not just given to foreign people, but being used then to funnel back and put fentanyl in our young kids, leading to the death of so many. Maybe we should lift it up, but let's lift it up and say it's all the Democrats' fault. And this is my problem. As people, we become pawns for this. Elon Musk, let's not forget, he is a Democrat. Bobby Kennedy is a Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard is a Democrat. They're Democrats. And what we've been able to develop, what Trump has been able to develop, has nothing to do with Republican or Democrats. The RNC is running around as if they're the saving grace. They're not. They hate the pro-life movement. They hate it. Your organizations in D.C., and if I'm lying, I'm dying. I'm telling you right now, I have literally been in rooms with people that are talking about, well, let's just go fundraise on this. Let's go talk to these wealthy people and let's give them a sob story about doing something to save babies. And then the organizations and the people that are actually saving the babies, like the woman that literally was put in jail by the FBI, by the Department of Justice, put her in jail for standing in front and preaching in front of an abortion clinic, put in jail. It wasn't for President Trump, she wouldn't be out. Same thing goes with Tina Peters. She rots in jail for what? For what? Because a makeup artist and a CIA informant decided to create a ruse with a little shitty guy named Gerald Woods who couldn't tell the truth if he was standing on it. And then they just colluded and had this conspiracy that put her behind bars. No, it is a lot of kabuki theater. It's a lot of kabuki theater. And I'm going to tell you something else. Things are not perfect. The Democrats do hold a slim majority on this subcommittee. And the only reason, you have people like this Rep. Garcia, the only reason that they're actually participating in this committee is so they can delay the process of getting to the bottom of all of this rot. Let's go ahead and play this. This is Rep. Garcia revealing that they want to basically stand in the way of progress. Let's go ahead and play it.
I want to bring in someone to the conversation who very much wants those questions answered and posed to the courts. Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California. He's a member of the new DOGE subcommittee in the House, which is set to actually hold its first hearing at the top of the hour. And so to that end, Congressman, I've got two questions for you. One that might seem a little procedural, but first, do you guys have, as Democrats in the minority on this committee, meaningful subpoena power here?
Well, look, we've tried. And I think that this committee and our larger oversight committee have even tried to get Elon Musk to come to testify. That's been blocked by the Republicans. And so a lot of that's being negotiated still. But as of right now, we're prepared today to go in and ask and answer some really tough questions. We want to see Elon Musk, but we're also going to call out the corruption. We're going to call out the fact that we have essentially an unelected billionaire with almost as much power as the president of the United States. And I think we're going to bring the fire today. And so I think even though we don't have all the power that we would like, we're going to use every minute that we are given at this hearing to call out the corruption, the lies, and I think we're going to bring the fire today.
There's some that may question why Democrats are participating in a committee like this if Republicans are cutting you off at the pass with subpoena power, and wondering if y'all being on committees like this doesn't validate or normalize the work of DOGE, which is certainly going about in anything but normal capacity here as it tries to basically rip out root and stem various parts of government, even agencies themselves. What would you say to folks like that?
Yeah, I would say that first, I have zero interest working with Marjorie Taylor Greene, our chairwoman on this committee, or the House Republicans on this committee to help them with anything as it relates to DOGE. What we're there for and what we're there to do is to fight, to push back on the lies, to bring attention to what's going on right now at our agencies, and to make sure that people know that we are going to fight every single day to ensure that we get Elon Musk out of our private information. So it's important that we are there. Look, if we weren't there, they would have the entire committee essentially to themselves. But let's make no mistake about it. We are not going to be working with the House majority, and we're certainly not going to be working with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think folks today are going to see us get really engaged and ask really tough questions.
We're going to get really engaged and ask really tough questions. But they didn't ask tough questions. Hernando is going to join us, by the way, in a few minutes. I got two more things that I want to go over with you. And I want to start by saying that Jasmine Crockett, that douche nozzle from Texas, Hernando is from Texas. He's in Texas. He actually, by the way, is not far from me. I'm in San Antonio, so I hope to talk to him about that as well. Maybe I'll go have some wings with him while I'm here. Here's a video of her squealing about Elon. This is Jasmine Crockett, not Hernando. I got to put that all together. Squealing about the DOGE hearing and Elon having more power. That somehow Trump is not the president. I can't hear. Just play it.
If you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying, and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
It's time for
the
us
gentlelady's
to do our
time
job
has expired.
and rein in this rogue actor known
The
as
gentlelady's
Elon
time
Musk.
has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Burleson.
Okay, I'll relent. It wasn't Gaza that got $50 million for the condoms. It was Mozambique. And it still happened. And he never said that he lied, but that's what the left does. They create these prepositions and say that things are happening that never happened. Say that people said something they never said while just parroting a bunch of lies. And then she said this: I would welcome auditors at the election. I would welcome auditors. Joe Hoft, are you in the house? Joe Hoft, an auditor of over 20 years, a celebrated auditor that worked all over the world, wrote 3 books. Maybe we should send all 3 to Crockett. It gets crazy. It gets crazy. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have Hernando, who is an independent journalist. We've had him on before. He joined the Navy at 18 years old. He's a citizen journalist. Unfortunately, while practicing his First Amendment right of freedom of press, while he was video recording illegal human trafficking in San Antonio, he was unlawfully arrested, handcuffed, and sent through the brutal booking process for over 26 hours. Actually, if you ask him, he doesn't care. He did the process because he was willing to pay the consequences for making sure that he could get to a place where he told you what was happening. We're going to talk to him a little bit about what's changed. What's changed since President Trump got into office? How does that change what's happening in San Antonio? And what can we do about some of the things that are happening around the country to traffic women and children that they're still under contract to this day? So we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot.
Do you want to get profits from the world's most productive oil basin? Bloomberg calls the Permian Basin the world's most important growth engine for oil production. Now there's a way for everyday investors to collect monthly checks from an incredible oil hotspot. It's not a stock, and it's not an ETF. Instead, you can actually own royalty rights on over 380,000 acres of prime oil and gas fields. The best part? 95% of all income from this investment gets paid directly to investors like you. You can simply sit back and collect the royalty checks month after month. You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. Visit oilboom2025.com to learn more about the opportunity from the Oxford Club's chief income strategist, Mark Lichtenfeld. That's oilboom2025.com to learn how to start collecting Permian Basin oil royalties today. Couple things I want to tell you. We are just a couple days away from you getting access to this hat. Interesting story. Yesterday I was flying. I was sitting down and 2 people walked by, separate people that are coming through the plane, coming through the aisle, looked at my hat and said, "What does that mean?" I said, "True North." It's the truth. It's the truth, the true north of truth. And then I just went ahead and said it's the untamedtruth.com. So go there. So one of those people actually reached out to Apollo, I think, because I got a message on X that says, "Hey, I was the one that was sitting behind you in the airplane. I didn't know that this information existed. Thank you very much. My husband and I sat down and watched you for about 3 hours." That's a pretty powerful statement for someone that never heard it before and then spent 3 hours listening to my podcast. I guess someone actually does like to hear my voice. Wouldn't be me though, Apollo, would it? Mhm. I don't know about yeah, I'm not invisible. Sometimes I wish I was, though. There are times that I wish I was invisible. So with that said, we have Hernando with us. And Hernando, like I said, is a investigative journalist that did serve his nation, this nation. He is an American and has done some great things to expose just some of the bad stuff that was done under the Biden administration. With that said, Hernando, welcome to the show. Untamed Truth. Yeah, the reality of it is, I think we have to spend a little bit of time. It was Conservative Daily, and Conservative Daily was great, but I want to have a conversation. I want to have a conversation with both sides. We're going to have a thing on immigration. We're going to have and I'm going to have someone that is here, a couple of people that are here illegally. We're working on that right now to have them on the show in the studio. We have another person that's been going for 15 years through the process of immigration, and it's been brutal, but has stayed the course for this process for 15 years. And then you have a couple of people that are just opposed on both sides and for it on both sides of what's happening kind of in the country. So it should be an interesting conversation. But what are you doing now? What did they put you out of a job? Are you having to just wait on the sidelines as they just ICE picks everybody up?
Well, on the contrary, I was hoping to get with Joe Holman and his team to do some documenting of the largest deportation campaign in American history. But I'm out here in the streets of New York City, Washington, D.C. I'm back in San Antonio to document what is happening post Trump's election.
So what is happening? Is it slowing down, or are they still doing the secretive stuff where they stand on the sidelines and try to, skirt the rules of Homan and President Trump?
Well, if I could just backtrack for the year of 2024, we did see a slowdown at the border because it was an election year. However, the media was lying to the American people when they said that, even the governor of Texas was lying when they said it was a 60 or 80% reduction in migrants coming in, because there are four ways that migrants can come in. They can come in through an unfinished wall or through the river, which is the most common for these 20 million illegals. They can come in through CBP1, which is an unconstitutional app that has nothing to do with asylum. They can come in through the flight program. It's called the CHNV, which stands for Cuba, Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. Through the flight program where they flew in. And of course, the most recent update is that most illegals here is through expired visas. So when the government tells you that we have the lowest amount of illegals coming in, that's a lie. But to fast forward to the post-election, we are seeing a slowdown here. The American Replacement Center, where I document, is slowly gearing and slowing down, and they're planning on closing end of February, Joe.
End of February. So they're gearing down, closing up. Where does that leave people that do make it across the border? Or are you seeing any slowdowns? Have you been to the border? Are you seeing any slowdowns that are happening there? I know that there's a heavy military presence down there. Have you been able to experience that or see that for yourself?
Well, I have not been able to physically go to the border, but I spoke to the last illegal aliens that were able to get inside with the CBP1 app appointment. And they were the last of the last. So they were grateful. They were, thanking God that they were able to sneak in. But the CBP1 app has closed for new appointments into the interior of our country. However, I want your audience to know that the app is still functioning. And that's important to know because the app is used to schedule an appointment with an ICE officer or with a DOJ judge. So the app is not totally out of business. The app still functions for those that are already in the country that have a future court date, whether it be 3 weeks or 3 years from now, Joe.
It's interesting. I think they do have to close the loop on all of these things. Do you think that there are more people that are turning off the app or getting off of it for fear that ICE might show up and say, oh my gosh, okay, they're right down the street. They're at 3, 4, 5. They're at the wing stop down here. We're going to just go pick them up. Do you think there's a little bit of trepidation to even engage with it and
yes,
engage with the app? Okay, so do you think people are just self-selecting and just going home? Is that
well? My theory is, Joe, and I've said this for the last 6 months, is that the way I see it breaking down with these illegals, mind you, we already had 20 million illegals before the invasion started. So we're looking at 40, 50 million illegals combined. The way I see with in the last 4 years is that 35% of them are going to self-deport. And we're already seeing it because I'm monitoring the Facebook CBP1 groups. Anyone can go on Facebook right now and search CBP1 app or CBP1. There's dozens of these groups with hundreds of thousands of illegals, and that's where they communicate. So I'm there doing some reconnaissance and seeing what they're telling everybody else. And a lot of them are leaving. They're self-deporting. So 30% are going to self-deport. The other 30% are not going to leave. Those are the ones that have violent and criminal records and want to hide. Those we're going to have to go door to door to find them, like ICE is doing now. And the last 30% or so, Joe, I think we'll never be able to deport them because they're going to lawyer up. They know how to play the game, and they're going to pop 1 or 2 babies. They're going to have no criminal record. They're going to be a family unit. And I don't think the American people have the appetite to see mothers and children being, put away and then sent back. I just don't see it. But so that's how I see it break it down, Joe.
I got to tell you something. I don't have the appetite either. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't have an appetite. You say they don't have a criminal record. I think you take away entitlements if they can work as hard as Americans work. And this is not going to go over well with some people. But I'm not sure I have an appetite for ripping people that have been here 20 years out of the system and sending them to a country where the kids have never known any other country but this one. I don't know if I have that appetite. So I'm just, and maybe that's just, and you'd say, Joe, the law is absolute. Here's another thing that I don't have an appetite for. If somebody rapes somebody's daughter and that guy decides to go and kill the rapist, I don't think he should spend 1 day in jail. I think that rapist got exactly what he deserved, frankly. So the law is absolute. The law is, if you say it's absolute, then you should have no jury nullification either. You should have no ability for you to. So I don't know. I mean, it's, and by the way, vengeance belongs to God. It doesn't belong to me. But I follow Jesus. I am not Jesus. So there's a certain part of me that says that I'm not sure I have the appetite of going and deporting 50. If you say it's 50 million people, boy, is the comments just absolutely lighting up.
Right. If I could add something else, Joe, that a lot of people see, the problem is the media is not educating the viewers. Not even conservative media is.
Yeah.
I think they dropped the ball big time because this is a complex subject. Immigration is not black and white. There are many, many different layers. Like CBP1, you got the TPS, temporary protective status. Trump just signed an EO saying that that's going to cancel April, the first wave, and the second wave is going to cancel in September. That's for 600,000 Venezuelans. But what I'm seeing now is that the way they're reacting, these illegals, only about 1 million or so have applied for asylum before the election. Well, what I'm seeing now is they're pushing to apply for asylum, thinking that they can be safe by applying for asylum. You have 1 year to apply for asylum once you enter the United States. So we're seeing a new surge of illegals trying to get into the application. Of course, you and I hope that your audience knows, they're a smart audience. They understand that 88% of asylum seekers do not get approved. They're denied because they don't qualify. Economic reasons is not a reason for asylum. So that plus the fact that there are already 1.5 million people already on the final removal by a DOJ judge. We have over 1.5 million people that have already been told to leave, and they haven't left. So ICE has a lot of work to do, and I'm sure they're going to be staying busy for 5 or 10 years. It's not going to happen overnight.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, and by the way, the left is not giving into this deal. They're still operating covertly and violating the law, the letter of the law. You talked about this a little bit when we talked about what's happening with the money that was sent from FEMA. So FEMA was sent $59 million to pay for luxury hotels for illegal immigrants. Here is a video that you took. I believe this was just 10 days or so, not even 10 days ago.
Right.
But let's go play this. This is the illegals at the hotels. Let's take a look at this.
I hear sirens. That might be ICE doing another raid of illegals. Maybe working with the FBI and DOJ and the ATF, Coast Guard. It's all hands on deck. CBP, Homeland Security, all the agencies are working together now to get these illegals out of our country. It's a new day. It's a new morning. It's a new America. Roosevelt Avenue is a ghost town. I was there yesterday to report. There is parking available now in New York City because a lot of these illegals were using our parking spots. They were driving probably without licenses. Another military-aged man exiting the facility, a hotel. So yes, there's hope for our city of New York. There's hope for the state of New York. There's hope for America now, because Roosevelt Avenue in Queens, New York, I was there yesterday.
At 5 o'clock in the
I
afternoon.
was shocked. I was born and raised there my whole life. And it was a ghost town at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was parking available.
We got a little powwow going out here.
Unbelievable. We got another family unit here from Venezuela exiting the facility. No tiene escuela hoy? No escuela? They're not in school for some reason. They're supposed to be in school. Maybe they're going shipped out to another hotel, or maybe they're going to Guantanamo Bay. Yes, Guantanamo Bay is open for business now. You don't need to be in Islamic Jihad to be in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So a lot of these bad of the bad illegals are going to Guantanamo Bay on a vacation because we can't trust them to go back to their country, because once they go back to their country, they come right back like a revolving door. And so we're gonna hold them in Guantanamo Bay, and maybe we'll do some waterboarding with them. Maybe we'll do some waterboarding to get some information on these illegals. El Tren de Aragua. El Tren de Aragua. The gang from Venezuela. In Ecuador, the other gang, there's gangs in every country. In Colombia, it's the FARC. In Ecuador, there's another gang, I don't remember the name of it, but they're all these countries have, there's another child there. Was that child being sex trafficked? Is she being smuggled? Is that her father? Or is that a coyote that's taking the child never to be seen again, to be sold into sex slavery?
So you talked about waterboarding and Guantanamo Bay. You know, I did actually meet Sam Al-Haj, Guantanamo Bay prisoner 345. He spent several years in Guantanamo Bay as a prisoner. He was a cameraman from Somalia that worked for Al Jazeera. So it's not a comfortable environment. So you saw a bunch of people just coming, just pouring out of the hotels. So the hotels are still open for business. They're still getting money for these illegals.
Yes, it was just breaking news a few days ago with DOGE. $59 million was given to the hotel. I believe it was the Roosevelt Hotel. Since that, they say they're going to try to get it back, but who knows if that's going to happen or not. Yeah, these illegals. I was actually assaulted by one of those gang members, Tren de Aragua, in another clip that I did at the Row Hotel. He threw a water bottle in my face. Police was there. They didn't even want to interview the illegal. They asked for my ID, made me write a report, but they wouldn't even interview the illegal to do a proper investigation. That's how disgusting sometimes these lazy cops. This is what it is. They're lazy cops in New York City.
Well, I mean, I will tell you, New York and it's a difficult environment, and a lot of times their hands are tied by other people that get to make the rules, right? So I do want to report this. We do have this. This is a report from Fox News stating this about the $59 million. Let's go ahead and play it.
Fox News alert moments ago. We received this together. We received a statement from the DHS regarding the $59 million sent from FEMA to New York City migrants last week. Quote, 4 employees being fired today for circumventing leadership and unilaterally making the egregious payment for hotels for migrants in New York City. We have not announced it yet, so we have it first. There's going to be firings, the names are going to be out, and let's bring in New York Congressman Mike Lower. Congressman, your thought about that move?
Well, it's long overdue, frankly. These funds have been misappropriated going back to the Biden administration. And New York City, a sanctuary city, has been wasting billions of dollars of taxpayer money, billions with a B.
Hernando, here's my problem. They get on TV and they act like Captain Obvious, right? They knew this was a problem. And every time you put a talking head up on TV and they're the spokesperson, like during the Biden administration, nobody was doing anything about it then either. Republicans weren't doing anything either. It's kabuki theater. Yeah. And yeah, they're doing something now because you have a few brave men. But now everyone's acting like they weren't cowards. And in actuality, they were cowards.
You're right. And if you look at the funding with the leader of Congress, Representative Johnson, he actually provided much more money, millions more to these NGOs during the invasion. He increased their funding. Representative Johnson. So yeah, both the DNR are part of the swamp, So hopefully DOGE can clean it up. And we want accountability. I want investigations on all these NGOs, where the money went, and where are the missing children and women that have been, trafficked, smuggled into our country the last 4 years.
It seems to never be ending in the amount of corruption, but everyone wants to take credit for it now. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And this is how entirely backwards it is. Hernando, you're a first generation American, correct?
Yes.
You're first generation American. You had to go through the process to get your citizenship. You served this country. You did that.
Yes.
And it probably wasn't easy.
Well, no, actually, I'm second American. My mother was, she came here legally in 1965. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. So.
Oh, okay. So first, but she came here. So you are first generation American then, because your mom immigrated here.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. Would you, just a question I have to ask, because your mom went through it. This process of becoming a citizen, do you think that part is broken? I mean, can we admit that it's broken? Can we not admit it's broken? Does it take too long? Does it not take too long? Does it take just long enough?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we do let in over 1.2 million migrants a year in this country for the last 20, 25 years. We are the most generous. We are the most compassionate. And from there, you can get a green card. And once you have a green card and you're in good standing, then you can apply for citizenship. Can the process be cleaned up? Probably. I mean, every department, I think, needs to be cleaned up.
Right.
But not allowing 20 million just to get, catch and release like we saw in the last 4 years is ridiculous. And mind you, the most amount of illegals that we have in our country is up to 60% now. 60% of illegals now are the ones that have expired visas, student visas, work visas, tourist visas. Those are the ones that are really easy to catch. And Homeland's going to go after them as well, because they broke the law now as well.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. You're out there trying to figure out and bring a light to those people that are here illegally that don't belong here. And at the same time, you have this horse mouth woman doing this. Let's go ahead and play this cut B4.
If you live in San Clemente and you are a few shades darker than me, it is cold in San Clemente. There's a lot of cold weather. There's a lot of cold weather right around Sprouts, up and down, specifically around Camino Capistrano area. It is very cold. Very large amount of cold front coming through. Stay inside. Don't leave your apartments. Stay in the house. Now is not the time to go out and go shopping, okay? It's cold.
Oh.
It's cold. Those are words for ice is out. And you need to stay off the street.
Right.
Imagine, so should that person go to jail that just did that?
Oh, well, that's freedom of speech there. But if she's aiding and abetting illegals physically, then yes, she should be investigated. I personally have seen that. Like I was showing the last clip, I said Roosevelt Avenue in Queens, New York, which is where I was born and raised, which is why I left the city of New York, because my neighborhood was a foreign country. I didn't even recognize my neighborhood anymore. That's why I left Texas 10 years ago. And when I went back there, Joe, last week, my mouth dropped. I've never seen it like that my whole entire life. There were no illegal aliens in the streets selling illegal products on the street vendings. There were no vendors out there except one or two with licenses. It's on my timeline. And the thing that made my mouth drop was that there was parking available at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I've never seen that before. It was like a ghost town. That just shows you how many illegals were roaming the streets of New York City in Queens, Roosevelt Avenue. And yes, a lot of them are hiding, but they can't hide forever. And number two, they're self-deporting. And if they're not self-deporting, they will be self-deporting soon, or be picked up by ICE.
Picked up and taken to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
So, Hernando, I appreciate having you on. We'll have you on again. I'll try to connect with you while I am here in Texas. Tell everyone how they can follow you, how they can find you, and how they can get more information from you.
Thank you, Joe. So you can follow me on X. Everything's exclusively on X, not Facebook, not IG. And Rumble, Hernando Arce, on both of those sites. Thank you for the opportunity, Joe.
Hey, God bless you, and we'll have you on again. And again, I'll connect with you, take you down to Wing Daddies. It's one of my favorite places, Wing Daddies. I love Wing Daddies. Maybe we'll get together at Wing Daddies down in San Antonio. God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
All right, so I'm going to jump around a little bit. Just jump around, talk about some things that are happening in the media that we haven't talked. Hey, thanks a lot. So I'm going to jump around a few things. There's a lot of work that President Trump has been getting done, but let's talk about this first. A federal judge just ruled, this just happened. A federal judge ruled that President Trump has the authority to freeze or limit some federal funding So this is in contrast to the radical leftist judges that, frankly, I think belonged in prison. But let's go here. This is first reported on Fox News. Let's go and play it.
So clarifying that the government can limit access to federal funds on the basis of the applicable authorizing statutes, regulations, and terms. Essentially, yes, the government can do so in complying with regulations, and then that the previous order does not bar both the president and much of the federal government from exercising their own lawful authorities to withhold funding without the prior approval of the district court, meaning, again, they can disperse the monies that they were allocated within the law, within the confines of the law, and that the government does not have to seek preclearance from the courts on terminating funding as long as they have the authority to do it, as governed by the applicable statutory, regulatory, or grant terms. So essentially, the court is confirming what the Trump administration has maintained and what common sense can project, which is that within the confines of regulatory and normal authority, of course, you can do what you want with your own money, and you don't need a court's approval to do so.
Yep, that's.
You don't need a court approval to do so. Imagine that. You actually don't have to tell the court what you're doing, and the court is not our daddy. The president of the United States, the CEO of our country, the chief, the commander-in-chief is the one that gets to make the rules. The American people asked him to come in, not the court, not some rogue judge. But we have to do something about these rogue judges, because while they can't exact their pound of flesh on President Trump, they certainly can exact their pound of flesh on the American people, and that's what they've done for decades. I want to show you this too. This is Scott Jennings schooling a CNN panel about the rule of law authority over Trump, and I just want to start it out. I probably won't play all of it. It will show up on the socials. You'll be able to see it on socials in its entirety. Let's go ahead and start with this. This is Scott Jennings basically beating up these lefticals. We'll see it.
Well, I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the president of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against
I don't
Trump.
think anybody's in the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it. And the courts say you have to.
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress. I want to
return to that.
There are not repercussions. You get away with it.
I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Should the president,
the
singular president, should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand. The Biden administration understood that the checks and balances.
The Supreme Court tried to stop me, but they never will.
But not in the way that Donald Trump is.
Who said that? Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Joe Biden.
But Scott, he actually didn't ignore it.
He did. Right. They continued to plow forward with student aid.
How much did they spend?
Let
me set the record.
He actually got deep.
I hated the student loan forgiveness policy.
What did he say out loud?
I thought it was a ridiculous policy. I thought it was unconstitutional. I predicted it would get struck down. It did get struck down, and I applauded. He did not ignore it, though. He went and tried under a different law.
So he ignored it.
You're allowed. No, that's not ignoring it. That's not ignoring it. He's trying to do it. But let me just understand where you stand. If a district court judge rules in a way that the president dislikes, Should the president listen or should the president defy?
If a district court judge tries to usurp the authority of the
President of the United States, then he should tell them, here's the big finger. And he should walk right past them and say, thank you very much. By the way, Department of Justice, you need to go investigate that judge for violating the basic tenets of our country. Chief executive, his job is to run the country. As a CEO of a company, I have an obligation to protect the interests of the people that work for that company. He has an obligation. The judge doesn't have any authority or any interest in protecting the American people. Most judges are just rotted to the core. But I want to do something else. I'm going to skip past that for a minute. I've got great news for you. I want to introduce you to the new Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. We have this little video, and this should tell you that, people say that we're back. We're not back yet. We're not back. Until we get rid of election machines and mail-in ballots, we're not back. And I grow tired of people, even all the talking heads, they have this little club. Just, we have this little club. I'm not a part of anybody's club. Why? Because I can't be controlled. But this little club that you have out there, they keep saying we're back because the American people are, frankly, they're pissed. But this is just a little video about Tulsi Gabbard. I want to show it to you. For those on the audio version, this is Tulsi Gabbard shooting a gun and doing some PT, which I think is pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and play it. Kinda. It's kind of cool audio, maybe a little bit, just to show you that she's shooting a gun. All right. Well, anyway, she's doing all the things you have to do and running the obstacles. All right, you can take it down. There, you're pretty proficient with a pistol. That's a P320, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. All right, let's go take that down. Anyway, we say that we're back. While we are happy about the confirmation, some people are not. One of those people is Mr. Chuck Schumer. And here's what he had to say about Tulsi Gabbard being confirmed. Let's go ahead and give little Chucky Poo a little bit of time.
Objectively, I think most senators would agree there are better choices to lead national intelligence. You know what my guess is? If we had a secret ballot, Gabbard might get 10 votes and 40 against her from the other side. People know. That's why they raise so many questions. But Donald Trump and Elon Musk evidently threatened them, and they're changing their view.
Yeah, they're changing their view. Two things can be true at the same time. They're changing their view because they see that, frankly, the person that yields the most power in this position, unfortunately for them, is President Trump. Unfortunately for them, he is the one that holds all the cards when it comes to what happens, specifically what happens in the United States. And he said they threatened him. No, that's something the radical left does. But I want to go through this. The left for so long was able to say whatever they want with impunity. Ayanna Pressley. I don't even know how this person became a congresswoman from Massachusetts. She's a disgusting individual. She's absolutely disgusting. But she had this to say, and she said the quiet part out loud. They're willing to work with anyone who is serious about, and let's go ahead and play it.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. That's right. But they are not serious.
Okay. Apollo, we got to play that again. We got to play it one more time. I want you to listen. This is what the congresswoman from Massachusetts is saying about you, slave, you, serf. And it's coming from some bald-headed woman. Play it again. One more time.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. That's right. But they are not serious.
That's Hold on a second. Apollo, help me. Help me. What's happening? What is happening here? What is happening?
Just retarded. She's completely retarded.
We are serious about being serious. You know, about that thing we're doing to censor the American people. These people think you're a slave. They don't think you're. Look, man, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
They're cartoon characters. I mean, truthfully.
They're absolutely cartoon characters. You know what, Apollo? I've tried to step out of this politics thing, right? I've been trying really hard to step out of politics. I've been doing everything I can. But now let me just go on it. Some of the most retarded fucking people I have ever met are a part of politics. I'm not kidding. You have a glass-mouthed guy that literally in his bio says that he's an actor. And that is the person that says that they are an election expert and just spews a bunch of crap and puts up there, I'm protecting all my things are protected by the First Amendment. Turns out the lawyers say it's actually not. And that when he slanders people and creates a libelous environment that he's responsible for it. I think we're probably, he's next. We went after everybody else. They all capitulated. Let's see what this glass-mouthed kid does. But then you have hairdressers and call clerks, and those become the voices of reason while they do harm to people like Tina Peters and others. I just can't. I can't do it. I don't understand. And no progress is ever made with these people. None. No progress. There's never anything good that comes out of it. I mean, man. And so I keep looking at stuff like what happened in Guatemala and Marco Rubio going down to Guatemala, and the fact that he stood as a deflector of what Samantha Power had done in Guatemala and stood up with the president of the Semilla party, which is closely related to George Soros, took a vast majority of money from George Soros, and is protecting this evil while going after the Guatemalan attorney general and SecDev and a bunch of other people, or secretary general, and basically admonishing those people in Guatemala. And the people of Guatemala are like, is there something wrong? Like, have I lost my mind? And so I call up and I'm like, listen, I'll go to Washington. I'll bring all the information to Washington. I'm going to Guatemala. I'll bring it to him because obviously Marco Rubio bumped his head, but it turns out he didn't bump his fucking head. And that he is running interference in Guatemala for pedophiles and child traffickers and organizations like Save the Children that was run by Joe Biden. It is actually something that's happening. So I try to run away from it. Apollo, I try. Am I not trying to run away from it? I'm trying. Really.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with this as much as anyone else does.
But the retarded people who don't actually understand basic principles of ethics and information can't. I was the first one to come out 100% equivocally and say, I will stand on the side of Russia every day and twice on Sunday. Everybody said, Joe, you're crazy. Why would you stand with that evil empire? And I'm thinking to myself, who's the arbiter of who's evil and not evil? When you have, and I'm sorry, Mr. President, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm not a part of the club. I don't want to be a part of the club. I never wanted to be a part of the club. I wanted to promote Jesus. And you're like, well, you just cussed 3 times. I follow Jesus, but I'm not Jesus. And the frustration just keeps to boil over. because we get to dictate who's right and wrong, and we don't care what the facts lead us. We don't care where the truth leads us. Two things can be true at the same time. The left is a bunch of retards, and so is the right. And I know he had a very shallow pool to pull from. And he had people that it must have been a shallow enough pool that you had to find all the good people inside of Rumble, like the same rate that YouTube does. And you just can never get to a place where you have true north. Like it's always this kind of moving around target. And you meet people and they're like, oh, I did this and I did that. And I'm like, great. And they're like, well, we need to solve this problem. And I was like, do this, this, and this. These are the three things you do. And here's mathematically what will happen. And then they're like, oh, that's great. And then they do the opposite. They literally are sustaining some of the evil things that are happening. Well, President Trump had a meeting with Vladimir Putin. And he's getting a lot of flack for this. He's getting a lot of flack for this. He's like, I had a long conversation, a lengthy and productive phone call with Vladimir Putin of Russia. And so here's what he had to say. Let's just put it up next to me, if you would. There we go. I just had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people and we likewise lost so many. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations and the great benefits that we'll someday have in working together. But first, as we both agreed, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war in Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately. And we'll begin by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. I have asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, here we go again, Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, to lead the negotiation, which I feel strongly will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would not have happened if I were president, but it did happen, so it must end. No more lives should be lost. I want to thank President Putin for his time and efforts with respect to the call, and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, a wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, hopefully soon. Okay. I want to say this because I got a phone call yesterday, and that phone call, the day before yesterday. And in my super secret, can you go to this app and talk to me? And I'm like, yeah. I think that the NSA probably has access to every app and every phone, and I don't think there's anything secretive about things. I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Apollo, maybe I'm wrong.
They got access to everything. Like the whole secret squirrel thing is kind of a joke.
I'm gonna hide.
It's a joke, bro.
They said, Joe, can you lay off Marco Rubio? And I'm like, if I were to meet him in a room, if I'd meet Marco Rubio in a room, I would walk up, shake his hand. How you doing, Marco Rubio? I think you're wrong about Guatemala. And by the way, I hope you're serious about really strengthening relationships with countries that we've spent a lot of money and time and resources taking time and resources away from and killing millions of those people in those nations. I would probably say that. And then I would say, but I accept you where you are, not where I want you to be. I will pray for you. And we'll pray for Marco Rubio today. But two things can be true. I can have respectful conversations about people and with people and still recognize that I can't be the only guy with this information in the room. I can't be the only one with basic discernment and the ability to see things as they truly are, which does make me a very dangerous person because I'm willing to and have the ability to articulate it to large audiences. But why do they spend so much time cutting away and trying to take away the voice of a guy that frankly does not chase power, does not chase money? I don't chase anything. Apollo, you ever see me chase anything other than truth? Anything? Yeah, go ahead. You can tell. Hit me. I want you to hit me hard between the eyes.
Not really. I've seen you chase your dog when you were pissed off before, but that's about it.
Birds.
In
chase
fact,
birds.
No, you don't chase birds. You did shoot at a squirrel once, but I don't know that you call that, chasing.
Kind of hit it. I did hit the squirrel. I did hit the squirrel. My issue is this. If we are going to be thought leadership, if we're going to be free thinkers, we have to be willing to look at things from a compassionate standpoint. I just said something that I just got 2 text messages. Joe, you're wrong about this. Just quickly, you're wrong about the immigration issue. Every illegal should be deported. Okay. God bless you. 50 million of them. I don't even know. Is that a train? Can you move 50 million people in 4 years, 8 years? I mean, you tell me. Maybe you can. We can't even have conversations among each other. This is why we don't have nice things. We got radical leftists that are able to create ideas and people parrot them over and over and over again. We do the same thing on the Republican side. And every time we go to have a conversation, it's okay if you disagree with me. It's okay. I can accept the fact that you disagree with me. I can accept the fact. So when people say, can you lay off Marco Rubio? The answer is no. Hell no. No, I can't. I can't lay off anybody. Because you know what? Women and children are still being trafficked. And consequences need to be heard. And at some point, we got to get to a place where we speak the truth and talk the truth and have permanent ideals, not permanent alliances. And President Trump is my guy. He's been my guy for 12 years, 10 years. He's a guy that I saw as, man, an imperfect man, just like the Bible states, an imperfect man that was going to be able to do perfect things for the people in this country. And I think it's biblical. I think it's biblical that he is the man leading the front. But there are feckless cowards, and there are a whole bunch of Judases, and there are a whole bunch of Brutuses that surround him. And so if iron sharpens iron, then we must be compatible with recognizing that I will respect the leadership and what they do and where they are, but I don't have to agree with them. And neither do you. And you can call people out respectfully. You can say you're wearing beer goggles or you're complicit in the behavior. You choose. You can go to the front of the line and say, look, I'm willing to have a conversation. I'm willing to be wrong. But what I will not do is I will not sit by the sideline and say, you know what? They might have more information than I do. Because they don't. Well, they have access to all the CIA briefs. CIA. What the fuck? I mean, the same CIA? Are we talking about the same CIA that we just talked about in the same breath of causing wars and not respecting the sovereignty of nations and making up stuff about other nations like Sudan, Iraq, Afghanistan? I mean, was it the CIA that told us that they had weapons of mass destruction? Was it the CIA that said that there was genocide, ethnic cleansing in Darfur? Was it the CIA that said, no, there's nothing to see there, that there aren't any biolabs in Ukraine, and they're not producing dangerous chemical and biological weapons in order to kill people? Was it the CIA that said that there weren't any, that didn't come from Wuhan, China? How about was it the CIA that told the media platforms, that told the media companies over and over and over again, ivermectin is horse paste? Tell me what it is that I should trust about the CIA and their stupid reports. And then tell me what happens when you sit down face to face, eyeball to eyeball with people. See, I've done that. I've had the conversations. I've literally sat in the room with Mohammed Hussein Fadlallah, the head of the Hezbollah, in the middle of a bombed out shelter underneath. And I looked at him like, this guy, you could see a spirituality in people when they're actually genuine and they're authentic. Yet he's a terrorist. Like, I can't square what we've done in our country to kill innocent people and then say somewhere along the line they're smarter than I am. They went to Harvard, Joe. Well, let me tell you something. That going to a school does not make you smart. It does not make you smart. The books that are in any university and any education system out there are freely available to people on the street. There is no, you can only read that book if you went to Harvard or you went to Yale. Because there's been plenty of books, and I tell people all the time, go read a book, any book. It doesn't matter what book you read, go read a book. But we will not stand on the side, I will not stand on the side of people that are doing harm to other people in other nations. And you would say, Joe, why do you care? I'm going to answer the question to the person that told me to lay off of Marco Rubio. And I know you're listening. What's right is rarely popular. What's popular is rarely right. And you know what? If you say that you serve at the will of the President of the United States, tell me what kind of example he set for the rest of us. Because he didn't walk out of court with a crooked judge and say that judge is great. He walked out of court and said that's a crooked judge. That's a crooked prosecutor. This is a corrupt system. That's what he did. He showed us the example of standing up even when it was unpopular, even where people in his own party failed to stand up and support the president of the United States. They failed. Now, today they support him, and today they do the right thing, but they didn't. There was no loyalty to the right thing. There was only a loyalty to, a fear of loss? Am I going to lose something by saying something now? If President Trump is not elected, do I lose? Because the voice of the people that say that they surround him and support him, man, you could have heard a pin drop up until the point President Trump was elected, and how all of a sudden everyone's on their side. I got to tell you, the reason why Crockett said what she said, I think it was Crockett, Presley said what Presley said, they will work with anyone that's willing to censor the American people, is because that has been the format that they have lived by for not just a decade, but decades. And a voice of reason is not what they want. They want a voice of confusion and chaos. And so I applaud President Trump. I applaud him because he just he's not going to dance to anybody's jig. He's not going to step out, and maybe he will, but he's always got a plan, and he'll figure it out. The bad people, he figured it out in the first administration. It took him a little longer, but he'll figure it out this time too. But if you expect me to have an allegiance to somebody that's in his administration just because they're in the administration, my allegiance is to the people, and yours should be too. That's all I got, Apollo, is my little rant of rants.
That was good. There are a lot of people, here's what I'll give some of the people who are like, oh, you Trump people are cultists. And frankly, some of them are. Because it's lazy if you can't say oh, great, he put Doug Burgum over there. He's a good guy. No, he's not. Marco Rubio, how does he get a unanimous vote with the senators voting to nominate him? He's
he knows where the body
is. He's well known to be a dirty dude.
What did I say
Go ahead.
What did I say 3 days ago about judges? What should they do to judges if judges violate the law?
I don't remember exactly what you said. You should pull them.
They should be impeached, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody was really talking about impeachment, were they? I just kind of searched it to see if everybody was talking about impeaching the judges and looking at judges based on their face of impeaching the judges, right? Nobody was talking about it. This is 4 hours ago. Elon Musk, I put it up there in the thing, you can pull it. I hate being Captain Obvious. You want to know why they hate me? I'll tell you why they hate me. This is why they hate me. Here's Captain Obvious speaking again. I feel like I'm just getting really good at this Captain Obvious thing. Where is it? There it is. Federal judges who repeatedly abuse their authority to obstruct the will of the people via their elected representatives should be impeached. 433,000 votes. And I don't know if you hit it. Did you hit it? Hit the button? And the answer is, this should show you everything you need to know, is that 88.9% said yes, they should be impeached. We were talking about impeaching judges before. We were talking about what should be done to these judges, because judges actually pose the biggest danger and threat to the American people at the state level and the federal level. What you're seeing at the federal level is not any different than what you have at the state level. And if I had any message for anyone that is in legislative office or is in an office in any of the states, 50 states, is that you can say things, and you can say that the guy like Joe, or the guy like, there's guys like me, right? There's a lot of guys. Andrew Tate, not probably his greatest fan, but I like the fact that he stands up and said, hey, you know what? All you guys are a bunch of pussies. You act like you had courage now, but you didn't. You were the little feckless cowards during COVID that sat down and said, oh, let's not rock the boat. That's what you need to run on. You want to empower the American people. You want to see a fire built so hot that it literally melts the seats of the radical leftists that are the devil themselves. Stand up and speak truth. Doge the hell out of all 50 states. Stop taking the safe route and trying to think that that's going to get you into a position of power and authority in your state. And by the way, God bless you if you chase power and you chase money. God bless you. But now do something to get yourself power and money that involves taking care of the people that are in your command, that you're chartered to protect. Let's try that for once. But you better speak truth harshly. And when you have media personalities like Kyle Clark in Colorado, you should tell that guy to go piss off. It's not his opinion or your opinion. There is the truth, and there is these liars that are out there. But if we don't get to the bottom of the elections and get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, we are done. If we don't get rid of these judges, we're done. Because with crooked judges, you can put people like Tina Peters, a 69-year-old Gold Star mom, you can put them in jail. Apollo, what else do you got before we close up the shop?
Just make sure that you guys are following. It's good to see you guys on YouTube. We do have we've got Jeff and Patricia over there. We've made it now 2 days streaming on YouTube.
Wow.
I know. Big deal.
Apollo, what else do you got before we close it up?
For the record, just because we brought him up, Andrew Tate is a piece of shit. And I will not allow you to compare yourself to him because
I wasn't comparing myself to him, but
I know, but you did. It was like a tacit comparison. I'm like, no, Andrew Tate, not a good dude. Joe Altman is. So I can't let that one fly. But you guys, I haven't seen any emails about text messages. So if any of you still have issues with any of that, it looked like it went out fine today. So if you guys are having issues, let me know. I know it happened. It's been like 24 hours.
It has been 24 hours. We got back on there, got 23. People are looking for me. I want to thank the people.
Put a note on there on yesterday's stream about what FEMA was. So I didn't see a strike, but they did say, in case you were wondering what FEMA is, because you were blasting FEMA yesterday. But so far we're smooth on the YouTube.
Yeah, I guess smooth is the word for it, right?
Yeah.
I want to thank the people over on Pilled for all of the support we have over there. I want to thank Matt and Matt. They're going to be coming to see me. Good guys that actually built that platform, Pilled.net. Just a shout out to them if we can as well. Also want to talk about the people that are on X. Look, that is truly a godsend of a platform. I don't criticize Elon, but I criticize maybe. I said something about the fact that he changed his name to Harry Balls, and he just has. I just think that he should be above it. I like his humor though a lot. I just don't think that. I think sometimes it erodes the ability for those people that are on the left that are ingrained the way he was for so long to get to a place where they can hear him when he says 50% off circumcisions. So, but it is still a great platform. And by the way, there's another thing you can go to. We're going to try and get on Truth Social and have a live event thing going on Truth Social. I'm going to work with those guys to get on there. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of merging that happened with some platforms out there. But I'll say this before I pray, and I pray us out every time. If you get mad because I'm speaking my truth, I'm not speaking my truth. I'm speaking truth. And 100% of me is devoted to making sure that I protect my brothers and sisters. It's just the barometer by which I live. And so if you don't like what I have to say, you're welcome to send me a text message, you're welcome to communicate with me and say, hey, look, I have a different perspective. I might even pick you out of the crowd and say, come on. Let's have a conversation about it. Because frankly, I'm not the arbiter of reality. I'm just the arbiter of what I know to be true. But it's not like I live in that world. It's not like I live in the idea that I have to be right. But Apollo, I'm right most of the time, right? Am I right?
You're right a lot.
And he doesn't have to tell me that because he gives me
you ain't Batman, but I mean you're right. You're right a lot.
I am Batman. You're Robin. We had this conversation before.
All right. Listen, after you and Jovan take your shirts off and do your thing, we're gonna put the Robin tights on. People are gonna vote.
I could take my shirt off right now. And I wouldn't scare people. Right? You give me 30 days to get in fighting shape, man. I will crush. All. I will be like rip. Look like Bobby Kennedy.
All right.
That is no.
Joe Altman's chest untamed.
Yeah, my chest untamed. No, look, I just want to tell you. I mean, I enjoy. Oh, what happened here?
No, he's a strong dude.
Huh?
Joe's a strong dude. For those of you, I know there's like some of those losers. Like it's probably Coomer from his basement. He's like, Joel's short and fat. Like, okay, dude.
First of all, I'm not short, and I'm definitely not fat, unless it's PHAT. Pretty hot and tempting.
Oof.
That might be.
Oof. Where is it? Where is it?
Why are you gay? Why are you gay? All right. Probably not appropriate as we pray out. Listen, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Those are the audio versions. Go over, give us a 5-star review. You are the arbiters of truth. You are the one that's going to help us grow. I know it's like a whack-a-mole. They're going to try and take me off a different platform, suppress the voice. So that's why we push out this deal that tells you when we go live. So you can find us any of those places. But you can go to you can text 89517, the word freedom. So text freedom to the number 89517, and it'll let you. It'll keep you up to date. You can also go to the Untamed Truth or JoeUntamed.com. And you can sign up to get emails and correspondence from us. We got a bunch of things that are going to be launching over the next 3 weeks. So I look forward to seeing you. Let's pray it out, shall we? Good?
Good.
Apollo, you have anything?
I don't think so.
All right. Get ready for Untamed Nation because it's coming to you. And I'm really excited about where we're going. Really, really, really excited about where we're going. And I'm glad to be on this journey with all of you. So let's pray it out. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for Hernando. Thank you for President Trump. And thank you even for Marco Rubio. Father, thank you for the ability to have a voice and to be able to use that voice effectively. And thank you for blessing us in such a way that we're able to overcome the obstacles that are put in front of us, sometimes by our own doing and sometimes by those that would have us trip up. Father, I ask you to bless Elon Musk and the work that he's doing, that you would put a shroud of protection and safety over the people that are doing the work, not just Elon, but the good men and women that are doing the work in order to protect our nation and to scrub and get rid of all of the corruption and evil inside of our government environments. Father, I would ask a bold prayer that you would actually remove the barriers that would allow us to do the same thing at the state level. And then find a way that we can stand up and protect our communities and even the people in our communities that maybe we disagree with, that we can find some common ground, not on the side of evil, but on the side of good. Not give up 50% of the landscape to meet in the middle, but never meet in the middle and always meet on the side that favors you, Father. I ask you to give us the ability to restore you to our community and to push on the churches and the communities to speak truth, regardless of how harsh that truth is or what the consequence of that truth is. And Father, I ask you to give us the ability to have the wisdom and the voice to speak that truth into our communities, but to hear what the community has to say, to hear what people have to say, to take away this veil of invisibility of the good men and women that have fought this fight and done the things that were necessary so we could get to the place we are today. Father, help us that we may have faith and act in that faith, that we may stand up, we may speak truth, and we may return to you so we never become the very thing that we're fighting against. I ask for these things, Father, humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Susan Rice, it's good to see you, the good Susan Rice. Apologize for missing the prayer before. I also want to say a little prayer for my friend Jeff. Jeff Breer has cancer. He's been going through his last treatment today. So I'll just say this, Father, I would just ask you to lift up Jeff Breer. I would ask you to just give him peace and to heal him. He's a good man. Him and Pam are good friends of me and my wife. And just an exceptional human being. So God bless you all. We will see you tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing the text messages and the emails. Tell me I'm wrong about certain stuff. Those are always fun. God bless you. Hey, good to see you, Apollo. Thank you. God bless you too.
Love you, bro. See you, everybody.